Let's be clear from the start. Kindness by itself is not enough to survive in this world. If you think being a good person is enough to achieve success, you're living in a fantasy. And the worst part is that you know it, even though you refuse to accept it. How many times have you felt like others are walking all over you? How many times have you done the right thing, and instead of receiving recognition, you've been ignored, or even worse, used? You've been taught that being good is enough, that honesty and nobility are rewarded, but the reality is different. The world doesn't reward the good. It rewards those who know how to play their cards well. And this is where Machiavelli comes in. Machiavelli understood something that most people ignore. Human nature is selfish, fickle, and cruel when necessary. In The Prince, he made it clear that virtue without cunning is a weakness, that goodness without strategy is a trap. And now tell me, how many times have you fallen into that trap? Think about it. The moments when your kindness was exploited, the times when your honesty was used against you, the situations where your nobility left you vulnerable while others advanced. These weren't normal incidents. They were inevitable consequences of navigating a complex world with an incomplete understanding of human nature. But what if I told you that you don't have to stay trapped in this cycle? What if the very qualities that made you vulnerable could be refined into strengths? This video isn't about abandoning goodness. It's about sharpening it into something unbreakable. By the end of this, you'll understand how to move through the world with kindness, but also with strategy, power, and control. You'll learn how to stop being used and start being respected. Because in the game of life, it's not just about being good, it's about being untouchable. This is where Machiavelli offers you an alternative. Intelligent kindness. It's not about becoming a villain. It's not about betraying your principles. It's about understanding that kindness must be accompanied by a deep understanding of reality. It's about learning to read people, to foresee their intentions, to know when to trust and when to keep your guard up. Machiavelli said that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. And you, what have you chosen? Surely you've chosen to be loved, to be accepted, to be seen as harmless. But tell me, what have you gained from that? Not respect, not power. What you've gained is that others know they can use you without consequences. Because kindness without strength doesn't inspire admiration, it inspires pity. Remember that coworker who constantly asks for your help but vanishes when you need theirs? Or that friend who knows you'll always forgive their broken promises? They don't respect your kindness. They exploit your predictability. They've learned that your good nature comes with no boundaries, no consequences. Intelligent kindness means helping others while ensuring you're not being depleted. It means being generous without being gullible. It means understanding that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself and others is to show that there are limits to what you'll tolerate. Don't get confused. I'm not telling you to stop being good. I'm telling you to learn how to be good without being naive. Understand that the world doesn't reward the just. It rewards the shrewd. That true virtue is not submission, but the ability to balance ethics with pragmatism. Machiavelli taught that image is everything. It's not only about what you are, but also about what others perceive you to be. If you give the impression of being weak, they will treat you as weak. If you give the impression of being strong, they will treat you with respect. How many times have you allowed others to disrespect you out of fear of losing their approval? How many times have you stayed silent to avoid conflict, only to realize that this makes you lose more than you gain? The meeting where you didn't speak up when someone took credit for your work. The time you accepted an unfair decision because challenging it seemed too confrontational. Each silence reinforced the image of someone whose boundaries can be crossed without consequence. It's not about being cruel. It's about being strategic. The key is knowing when to act, when to speak, when to retreat, and when to attack. Kindness is an advantage when used correctly, but if you let it go unchecked, it becomes your worst enemy. The mistake many good people make is thinking that the world values purity of heart. It doesn't. The world values power, security, the ability to make tough decisions. Your kindness is only respected when it's accompanied by authority. If you don't have power, your kindness is irrelevant. Think of it like this. A parent who can never say no doesn't raise responsible children. A leader who avoids difficult conversations doesn't build a strong team. Your reluctance to embrace the necessary tension between ethics and pragmatism doesn't make you more virtuous. It makes you less effective. Machiavelli would tell you not to be a lamb in a world of wolves, not to let your morality turn you into a slave. True virtue is not submission, it's intelligence. It's not about passively adapting, but about shaping the environment to your favor. And here comes a concept that very few understand: the perception of power. It's not enough to be strong, you have to appear strong. It's not enough to have intelligence, you have to project it. Because in this world, reality matters less than the perception others have of you. Think about this. How many times have you seen an incompetent person go farther than a talented one? How many times have you seen a manipulator rise while a noble and hard-working person remains stuck? This is no accident. People don't follow the good or the just. They follow the one who seems to be in control, the one who knows how to manage their image, the one who projects authority. The world doesn't reward those who are right. It rewards those who know how to sell their version of the story. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. It's not just about what you are, but about what others believe you to be. Perception is everything. An insecure leader doesn't inspire confidence, even if they're the most prepared. A worker who doesn't know how to make themselves noticed will never be promoted, even if they're the best. A person who doesn't project value will never be desired, even if they have a lot to offer. In any social interaction, people don't perceive reality as it is. They perceive it through filters of assumptions, prejudices, and emotions. And the question is, are you letting those filters play against you, or are you using them to your advantage? If you're good but seem weak, they will treat you as weak. If you're just but seem soft, they will trample on you. If you're talented but seem insecure, you will be ignored. It's that simple. The art of perception is what separates those who control their destiny from those who are controlled by others. And here, we enter a darker but necessary area: the control of information. Have you ever wondered why the most powerful always seem to know something that others don't? Why those who dominate the game always seem to have an advantage? The answer is simple: because they know when to speak and when to stay silent. Naive people believe that absolute honesty is a virtue, that always saying what they think and sharing everything they know is the right thing to do. But in reality, information is power, and you can't give away power without consequences. Machiavelli said that a prince must know how to hide their true intentions, not because they should be a liar, but because in a world where everyone seeks an advantage, the one who reveals too much becomes vulnerable. Learn to control what you share, to say only what's necessary and nothing more, to maintain a certain mystery. The moment you become completely predictable, the moment others can anticipate every move you make, you lose any strategic advantage you might have had. Think of someone you admire, someone with real influence. Are they someone who says everything, who exposes themselves completely? Or someone who always leaves something in the shadows, who always has a hidden card? Think about this. How many times have you spoken too much, and it has hurt you? How many times have you trusted the wrong person, revealing something that later turned against you? How many times have you given explanations that no one asked for, just to justify yourself to people who didn't even deserve it? Power is not in speaking more. Power is in knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. The one who speaks the least, the one who explains the least, is the one who commands the most respect. Why? Because silence creates uncertainty. Uncertainty creates curiosity, and curiosity gives power. Predictable people are easy to manipulate. If you always act the same way, if you're always predictable in your responses, emotions, and decisions, others will be able to anticipate you. They will be able to use you. But when you're unpredictable, when people are never sure of what your next move will be, you become dangerous. And when you're dangerous, they respect you. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. A leader who can be read like an open book is a weak leader. But a leader who maintains a certain level of mystery, who changes when necessary, who never lets others label them, that is the leader who stays in power. Look at how tech companies launch products. Apple doesn't announce everything they're working on. They create mystery, speculation, anticipation. They understand that unpredictability creates value. Or consider successful negotiators who never reveal their bottom line, who sometimes walk away from deals they want, who keep their counterparts guessing. Even in your daily life, think about the people who get taken for granted versus those who command attention. The friend who always says yes to every invitation becomes expected, even boring. But the one who sometimes says no, who has their own priorities. They become intriguing, valued. The predictable employee who works extra hours whenever asked quickly becomes exploited. But the one who sometimes agrees and sometimes prioritizes personal boundaries, they're respected for having standards and self-worth. And now the question is, do you want to keep being an open book that anyone can read, manipulate, and take advantage of? Or do you want to start being a strategist, someone who controls their image, their information, and their unpredictability for their own benefit? Because kindness without strategy is just an invitation to be devoured. The world doesn't change its rules for you. So learn to play with the rules that really exist, not the ones you've been made to believe. Many believe that the key to power is to always be present, to be omnipresent, to make yourself noticed at every moment. But the reality is different. The one who is too available loses their value. Scarcity creates desire. Absence creates impact. Think about this. Why do certain people generate more respect just by being present, while others, no matter how hard they try, never seem to impose authority? The difference lies in the perception of their value. Machiavelli said that a prince should avoid becoming too accessible, not because they should disdain their people, but because excessive familiarity destroys respect. When you're always there, when you give without measure, people start taking your presence, your effort, your generosity for granted. Look at luxury brands. They deliberately limit their products, creating waiting lists and exclusive releases. They understand that abundance diminishes value. Or consider how streaming platforms release their best shows weekly instead of all at once, knowing that anticipation enhances the experience. In your own life, how many times have you given everything for someone just to have them not appreciate it? The colleague who responds to emails at midnight soon becomes expected to always be available. The friend who drops everything whenever called soon becomes a convenience rather than a valued companion. It's no accident. It's human nature. What is abundant is despised. What is scarce is valued. That's why you must learn to regulate your presence, to dose your attention, to manage the perception of your availability. Don't always respond immediately. Don't always be within reach of everyone. Make your absence noticed. Make your presence weigh. Because when you learn to disappear at the right moment, when you learn to regulate your energy, people will start looking for you. Most believe power comes from force, raising your voice, aggressive gestures, imposing your will. But Machiavelli recognized a deeper truth. True power lies in emotional control. When you lose your temper in an argument, who really wins? The person who made you react. When you show anxiety in a negotiation, who gains leverage? The person who remains composed. Every emotional outburst is a moment where you surrender control to someone else. The unpredictable person is the one nobody can control. Not because they act randomly, but because they can't be manipulated through their emotions. They decide when to show anger, when to display compassion, when to reveal enthusiasm. These emotions don't control them. Machiavelli wasn't advocating for emotionless existence. He recognized that emotions are tools that should serve your goals, not obstacles that derail them. The difference between the strategic and the naive is simple. One uses their emotions, the other is used by them. Next time someone tries to provoke you, watch how they're attempting to use your emotions against you. Then choose a different response. That moment of choice, that's where your true power begins. But here comes what truly makes the difference between those who just survive and those who dominate their destiny. The ability to become an anomaly in the system. Because now you know. Now you understand that kindness alone isn't enough. That perception is everything. That emotional control is a tool of power. That strategic patience beats impulsiveness, and that scarcity increases your value. But what good is all of this if you keep acting like everyone else has until now? If you want different results, you must become someone who doesn't conform to the traditional rules, not in the sense of breaking them without purpose, but in the sense of rewriting the script. The problem with most people is that they think within the limits that have been imposed on them. They follow the same patterns. They react as expected. They move within what is acceptable or expected. But those who truly leave a mark, those who change the game to their advantage, are the ones who dare to be unpredictable, to play with new rules, to do what no one expected. Consider how Steve Jobs transformed Apple by refusing to follow market research, instead creating products people didn't even know they wanted. Notice how groundbreaking artists don't follow trends, they create them. Here's the big secret. The world is designed to devour those who conform. If you do the same as the rest, you will get the same results as the rest. And that means mediocrity, being another forgotten name in the endless flow of time. The only way to win is to step out of the mold. Be the one who acts differently. The one who doesn't react as others expect. The one who always has a hidden card. The one who is never completely understood or anticipated. Be the one who, when they speak, people listen, because their word is not cheap. When you learn this, something changes within you. You realize that you were never weak. You were simply not playing with the right strategy. You realize that people haven't been ignoring you because you're not worth it, but because you never knew how to project your value. But now you know. Are you ready to play the game differently? Small movements, small trials. Apply some mystery in your interactions. Control your urge to speak too much. Respond calmly instead of reacting emotionally. Small actions that over time will transform you into someone who can no longer be ignored. Because the world doesn't remember those who just existed. It remembers those who knew how to play the game.